Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil choke point. Imagine a narrow stretch of water so important that if it were closed for just a few days, global oil prices could skyrocket, economies could panic, and world powers could move their military forces into position. This is not fiction. This place is real, and it's called the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. Today, we're going to explore where the Strait of Hormuz is, why it is so important to the world economy, the history of conflicts around it, and what could happen if it were ever blocked. Where is the Strait of Hormuz? The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway located between Iran to the north and Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and then to the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. At its narrowest point, the strait is only about 33 kilometers wide, and the shipping lanes in each direction are only about 3 kilometers wide. That means one of the most important oil routes in the world passes through a very small space. This narrow passage is the only sea route for oil exports from major Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Without this route, most of their oil cannot easily reach global markets. Why is it so important? The Strait of Hormuz is often called the world's most important oil choke point. Around 20% of the world's oil passes through the strait every single day. That is roughly 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil used in the world. Not only oil, but a large amount of liquefied natural gas, especially from Qatar, also passes through this route. Countries like China, India, Japan, South Korea, and many European nations depend heavily on energy supplies that travel through the Strait of Hormuz. If this route were blocked, oil supply would drop suddenly, and prices would rise very fast. This would affect fuel prices, transportation, food prices, electricity costs, and the global economy as a whole. So even if you live very far away from the Middle East, what happens in the Strait of Hormuz can still affect your daily life. History and tensions. The Strait of Hormuz has been a hotspot for political and military tension for many years, especially involving Iran, the United States, and Gulf countries. One of the most famous periods was during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. During this time, both countries attacked oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. Many ships were damaged or destroyed, and the United States Navy had to escort oil tankers through the strait to protect them. In recent years, tensions have continued. There have been incidents where oil tankers were seized, attacked, or sabotaged. Iran has repeatedly warned that if it is blocked from selling its oil due to sanctions, it could block the Strait of Hormuz. Because of this, many countries, especially the United States, keep naval forces in the region to ensure the strait remains open. Military importance. The Strait of Hormuz is not just important economically, it is also extremely important militarily. Iran controls the northern side of the strait and has military bases, missiles, naval ships, and fast attack boats in the area. Iran has also developed sea mines and anti-ship missiles that could potentially threaten ships passing through the strait. On the other side, the United States and its allies maintain a strong naval presence in the region, including aircraft carriers, destroyers, and surveillance systems. This means the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most heavily militarized waterways in the world. Any conflict in this area could quickly escalate into a larger international crisis. What happens if the strait is blocked? If the Strait of Hormuz were blocked, the impact would be felt worldwide almost immediately. Oil prices would likely rise very fast, possibly doubling within a short time. Fuel prices would increase, airline tickets would become more expensive, shipping costs would rise, and many goods would become more expensive because transportation costs would go up. Stock markets around the world could fall due to uncertainty and rising costs. Countries that depend heavily on imported oil would be affected the most. Some Gulf countries have tried to build pipelines that bypass the Strait of Hormuz, but these pipelines cannot carry all the oil that normally passes through the strait. So the world still depends heavily on this narrow waterway. Global economy connection. The Strait of Hormuz shows how connected the world economy really is. A narrow waterway in the Middle East can affect fuel prices in Africa, food prices in Europe, manufacturing in Asia, and transportation in America. For example, if oil prices rise, transportation becomes more expensive. When transportation becomes expensive, food and goods become expensive because they cost more to move from one place to another. This can lead to inflation, economic slowdowns, and even political instability in some countries. That is why world powers pay very close attention to what happens in the Strait of Hormuz. Interesting facts. Here are some interesting facts about the Strait of Hormuz. First, about 1/5 of the world's oil passes through it. Second, it is only about 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. Third, it is considered the most important oil transit choke point in the world. Fourth, the shipping lanes are so narrow that ships must follow very strict navigation rules. Fifth, many military ships patrol the area every day. These facts show just how important and sensitive this location is. Why it matters to the future. The Strait of Hormuz will continue to be important for many years, even as the world moves toward renewable energy. Oil and natural gas are still major sources of energy globally, and demand is still very high, especially in growing economies. However, in the future, if the world reduces its dependence on oil and moves more toward solar, wind, electric vehicles, and nuclear energy, the importance of the Strait of Hormuz may slowly decrease. But for now, it remains one of the most critical locations for global energy and international trade. Conclusion. So, the Strait of Hormuz may look like just a narrow stretch of water on the map, but in reality, it is one of the most important and strategic waterways in the entire world. It connects major oil-producing countries to the rest of the world. It is heavily guarded by military forces, and any conflict there could affect the global economy almost immediately. In simple terms, the Strait of Hormuz is a small place with a very big impact on the world. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new about the Strait of Hormuz, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos about geography, world politics, and global trade routes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.